the English translation of the sketch files that was put out a number of years ago. You made a comment about the liveliness of line and trying to capture the energy in the line. And what you said in that interview was that you tend to be less concerned with the energy of the line than the correctness of the drawing, and that you continually revisit the drawing until all the anatomy is right and the shape of the movement is right and things like that. Is that as your drawing style seems to feel, I'm not sure if it's looser or a little more simplified, but it seems to feel a little freer as you move along. Are you still looking at it the same way, or has that aspect of things changed?
No, it's still one of my main concerns in the passage. No, it's working step by step about the line treatment. I made a lot of sketches for one single panel or one single drawing, and step by step, somehow, I find that I manage, I don't know, it's luck or probably it comes more from the animation experience. I tend to, the line tends to be better and more expressive and more precise. Precise in the way it describes the volume of the objects, the characters, and the clothes, the drapery. That usually European comic artists, it gets worse because they have a pencil sketch like lively and loose. And then when they ink, it becomes like really stiff, and I think maybe it's the animation experience that in a way allow me to keep the force of the first pencil sketch. Somehow it's just my temperament. Maybe it's just my character that I am like that, and I am very cerebral. but also in the line that I changed a lot. It has evolved through the series, because in the beginning I used to use a pen to ink. And the line, it can be loose with a pen. You can treat, Charles Dana Gibson, the illustrator, he knew how to use a pen, but the pen is adapted to the final result he's looking for, he's searching. It's not the same treatment, the same graphic idea that I pursued in Black Set. So I understood at some point that the pen wasn't the tool for me, and I was so pissed off with the pen because it stuck in the paper all the time, and it's just, why am I getting this aggravation all the time with the pen? Let's try the brush. And the minute I started working with the brush, I already had worked with a brush, but for illustration and to do some sketchy things. When the ink dries in the brush, it gives you nice textures. But that was for the line, only for the line treatment of the in a comic book, and I was like very intimidated and worried about if it was going to work and to work for me. And the minute I started working with it, I wasted like 6 years of work and being miserable with my tools, when this is exactly what I want. And then, but then again, it took me a lot of time, another couple of albums, another couple of books to apprehend the tool and to be able to feel more free with it. At the middle of in the middle of Arctic Nation, I switched tools, and maybe experience I can see where the change took place, but still I was inking with the brush, but the gesture was still the gesture of a hand with a pen, and it took a while. And between the third and fourth issues, the third is Red Soul and Silent Hell. Actually, I did another comic book that hasn't been published in the US. It's called Sorcellerie. It's a cartoony series, very much in the style of classic. Juvenile bande dessinée, the classic
like Spiro type of.
Yes, exactly. And it's a mix between classic Spiro style Belgian and French youngster comic books and this thing too. But since I wasn't working on color, on directorial, on watercolor, on in the plate as in Black Sun, I felt much more free to let the gestures of my hand go, and I really let go. I really learned to let go with those books, because if the line is not good, it doesn't matter. You take white and you correct it, and you work almost as much with the white. At some point, you work a lot with the white as much as with the black ink. So, and you feel free to go and to risk that line is going to be bad or just dirty on the sides and everything. And after that. And I was very happy and felt very free working on those books. And then I came back to Black Sun, and just for me and for some of my colleagues, the change is just so evident, and so that the line is not the same. It's almost not the same artist behind the inking work.
Did you feel less pressure to satisfy expectations with the is it sorceries?
Mm-hmm.
With sorceries, is that what sort of gave you the freedom to do it, or just the knowledge that it was a different series and you could have a different aesthetic?
Mostly that, and also the fact that it simply could be corrected. It's like
because you're coloring it digitally, so
yes,
so it's okay to fix it on the tape.
Yes, the original page is black and white, so you can fix it as much as you want, opposite to black. And
now, once you started using this approach, did you find it did it change the way that you watercolored it? If you previously had evoked volume with light and with color, if the line is varied and you're starting to put thicker lines on the bottom where the light is catching, which is something you might not have done as much with the pen, is that affecting the way that you're approaching color?
A bit too. But actually, two changes took place almost at the same time. I evolved, my inking work evolved, as we just as I very much talked about. And also my approach of the color, the stories require, at least at some points of the story of the book, brighter colors, because we had a New Orleans daylight atmosphere, and it needed to be very colorful. And on the other hand. Also, I switched paper, and which is very important. I changed a lot of things in my technique, I stopped using the watercolor pots. How do you call them? No, not the pot, the pans. The mini pans. You don't have pans, and which are just a pain in the ass to have one drop of color. You have to go with a brush and I started using watercoloring tube, which is it's already wet, so it's very easy to have this.
So you don't make a series of cakes with your tube from which to do it. You go straight from the tube on the day that you're working.
No, I put some certain small amount of paint from the tube in a big ceramic white palette that I bought with many pans and many areas, separated areas. It is a beautiful and very useful tool, and then you can obtain like huge amounts of paint with. But of course I mix the color. Actually, I started also using mostly the primary colors, since watercolor has pigments in watercolors are different, and you have several types. Main types are mineral and chemical.
And the minerals tend to muddy.
No, the minerals are mostly the brown stuff, and my palette is very brownish and grayish. But the minerals, the mineral pigments, the paint, when you wash over it, it goes. It washes it off, which is desperate because you try to add transparent, lavish, transparent layers of paint, and you can actually the ones that are under are removed by your own painting. When you use chemical colors, it happens much less. I mean, 10 times. It's a different from 10 to 1. It almost doesn't move, and so I obtain all my brown and grays by mixing the primary colors.
Oh wow! I did not realize that, but I noticed that.
No, you don't. You can see it.
Well, there's the last two books especially. There's such a vibrancy to the colors, and even the browner scenes feel the saturation of those browns, and they kind of feel amplified a bit. Is that something that was intrinsically part that just developed as part of your art, or did you work with Juanjo Guarnido to tailor the stories to better suit this more vibrant style?
No, it was just a natural evolution, the natural path of Blacksad's personal story as a character. He had this case to solve in New Orleans, so he moves to New Orleans for a while, and after that, that case doesn't pay him, so he doesn't have really the money to go back to New York, so he stays around just hoping to get have some job and collect some money and get back home, but really he wants to take a break and to do more another thing than being a private investigator and to find himself always in the middle of violence and murder and that type of things that are starting to make him depressed. So that's just a narrative tool also for us, and an excuse for us to have him in this kind of road trip, this kind of road movie or road comic that we decided was going to be the plot for Amarillo, because Juan wanted absolutely to at some point have this structure of a road movie for one album, and it was just the right moment. So it comes from New York, very dark, very moody all the time, very urban atmosphere, to Louisiana, and then the Middle West and all that parts, and most of the action takes place in daylight too. So it's just naturally colorful.
And you have a lot of noir films that take place in New York or in LA, and the third Black Sabbath book, was that in LA? I feel like there were oceans. The Red Red Death?
Oh, the Red Soul.
Or Red Soul.
No. It takes place in New York.
That's in New York as
Yes.
well. Okay. Are there any play? But the other ones feel sort of like a departure from sort of the noir genre that gave birth to Black Sabbath. Are there have you ever felt confined by genre conventions, or have you felt like the narrative has allowed you to sort of take it wherever you want? Are there other places that are there other locales that you as an artist really want to send Black Sabbath to, so that you can have the opportunity to draw them?
Yeah, probably in the future, but right now we receive so many critics about the fact that the two last chapters were so full of light and so colorful that it was almost people felt that it wasn't they weren't